bold journalism.
But Drew Hernandez is a strong-minded individual.
Exposing lawlessness.
Drew Hernandez, who is ideological.
Finding the truth.
And use the word Antifa.
This is what they do.
Battling
They're
mainstream
liars. The woke mob, all they can do is lie.
These are the front lines.
Welcome to Frontlines. I am your host, Drew Hernandez. It's been almost 2 years since Kyle Rittenhouse was forced to physically defend himself during riots in Kenosha. I witnessed that myself personally. Now his legal team is growing when it comes to defending his name. I'm bringing Kyle in today to talk about some of the latest controversies in the news surrounding him and his good name, plus an honest review of the new woke Star Wars show, Obi Wan Kenobi. It sucks. Spoiler alert. Just letting you guys know right now there will be tons of spoilers as we get into this with Jeremy Prime with Geeks and Gamers. But I'm sure you've noticed from gas prices to the grocery store, inflation is out of control. Prices on fresh meat and seafood have almost doubled in the last few years. If you're looking to save money without sacrificing quality, then you need to check out Good Ranchers. Right now, you save money, get steakhouse quality, and donate $50 to TPUSA by visiting goodranchers.com/TPUSA. You can do a one-time order or subscribe and save $25 on each box. When you use code TPUSA, you help us with our mission here and support American ranches in the process. Subscribing to Good Ranchers is extremely convenient and easy to manage. Make your $50 donation today. Go to www.goodranchers.com/TPUSA to get the quality you've been missing. They take the guesswork out of the grocery store and they take your everyday purchases and make them meaningful. Remember to use the code TPUSA to donate $50 to our TPUSA missions. And by the way, to all my thought criminals out there, Frontlines is now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other streaming services. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review right now. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, smash that like button, hit the notification bell, and share this video everywhere. If you're watching on Facebook right now, Twitter, or anywhere else, please share this right now. My name is Drew Hernandez, and you are now on the front lines. All right, well, breaking news. This is getting, I mean, it's already insane, but there is reports of a man with a gun outside of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh's house, according to the Post-Millennial. A man armed with a gun and knife has been arrested outside of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh's house in Maryland after making threats against the Supreme Court Justice. Here is Chuck Schumer threatening Kavanaugh amid the Roe v. Wade leaks. Take a look at this.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
Just another reason for the Second Amendment. You can't rely on the police. You can't rely on the military to come and save you. No, it's you. The Second Amendment is there for you. It is your God-given right. Just another reason. I mean, these politicians, they talk about, not making sure that we're not saying things that the far right comes out and says that's going to cause real-world violence. They're the extremists. They're the ones that are saying things that are getting left-wing individuals, and our political opponents are the ones getting us killed out here when they literally do the same thing. They all know it. They're the violent ones. They're the one that fan the flames of all the psychopaths and the extremists in the world that literally listen to these people, and they show up to Brett Kavanaugh's house with a gun and a knife, threatening him because of people like Chuck Schumer. They are the ones that are the extremists. They are the ones that fan the flames of domestic terrorism in the United States of America. Well, speaking of the Second Amendment and having the right to defend yourself with a firearm, whether it's a pistol or a long gun, Kyle Rittenhouse is making headlines again. Here, Fox News, the Sandman lawyer joins Kyle Rittenhouse's team, says Zuckerberg, a top target of numerous solid lawsuits. The lawyer who represented Covington Catholic student Nicholas Sandman during his defamation cases has joined Kyle Rittenhouse's legal team and says there will be at least 10 defamation lawsuits against prominent figures and companies for comments against the teenager. Well, joining me now is the great Kyle Rittenhouse. Of course, this is my good friend, my good buddy, my little bro, I like to consider him. Kyle, thank you for joining me today. Glad to see you well, glad to see you healthy. What can you tell us, Kyle, right out the gate with these lawsuits that are coming? Your lawyer has come out and said there's at least 10 defamation lawsuits of prominent figures and companies. Who's on the political, who's on the legal hit list, Kyle, coming down the pipe very soon?
Well, thank you for having me, Drew. And we had Todd McMurtry has joined the team to help take charge of these battles. We're going to be going after Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook first. Mark Zuckerberg called me a mass murderer, which is defamatory, and we believe it is actionable. And Facebook hid comments, took down comments in support that told the truth about me. And we believe under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act that they cannot do that. So we also believe that is action.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people, I mean, from the trial till now, I think people have seen your story obviously as a story of hope, encouragement, because it's someone that won their defense, but now you're going on the offense almost immediately. And I think it's amazing to see, because there's a lot of Americans out there that they just feel helpless, Kyle. I mean, they look at you as an individual that is kind of like moving through them, just going after the establishment, going after these people that just think they could destroy somebody's life, that they could defame, from Mark Zuckerberg to stupid Whoopi Goldberg to LeBron James and all these woke-hard grifters. I mean, you know, right, Kyle? But I do have a question for you. Is President Biden in your legal crosshairs right now? Is that their campaign, what they did to you? Because in my opinion, I know a lot of people slandered you, man, but that was probably one of the worst. I mean, I think the majority of the death threats you get, the majority of the defamation you get, white supremacist, murderer, hater of black people, murderer of black people, like you became that poster boy because of this puppet president that was running in 2020. Is President Biden in your legal crosshairs?
Well, yeah, President Biden used me 3 months right before a presidential election. He used my face in a campaign video. I said several times, Biden, let's have a conversation, let's sit down. He still hasn't responded.
So you've heard nothing from this administration. Nobody wants to talk to you. I'm curious, Kyle, has anybody been willing to hit you up, or you or your team, from The View to LeBron James to everyone that you guys are paying attention to, all these big tech companies? Has anyone hit you guys up to be like, hey, we're really sorry. We made a mistake. We just kind of went with something we thought was true. We'll retract everything. Has anyone come to you, Kyle, and apologized to you? Or are they just silent, doubling down, and they're just waiting for you to come after them? Has anyone come to try and make amends with you?
No, none of these big tech corporations have reached out and apologized. None of them have tried to make an amends with me. And some of them have even doubled down, like you said, The View. They doubled down on me, calling me Whoopi Goldberg, calling me a murderer post-verdict.
So what's the status with Whoopi Goldberg and The View? Are you guys in the process of a lawsuit? Are you in the process of starting something? What's going on with Whoopi and her woke-tard existence?
Well, right now we're doing the research and we're pulling everything together. And Whoopi's going to be on that list. What she did wasn't okay. She can't do that. None of all these big tech and media personalities and corporations, they can't keep getting away with this. And I didn't realize how bad it was until I saw it firsthand. And it's not just me that had to go through it. This has been happening for years now, and I'm just figuring out how terrible it is.
Absolutely, Kyle. That's why I tell you, man, I think a lot of people, young people, older people, are looking up to you. God is with you. Obviously, you should know that by now. But I think you're on a journey, man, that is really trailblazing to go after the establishment in many ways. But this has affected your personal life. You did tweet this the other day. You said the jury, you quoted Johnny Depp because he won his defamation case. You said, you quoted him, "The jury gave me my life back. Truth never perishes," Johnny Depp. And then you said, "I felt that. Congratulations to Johnny Depp and his team on his defamation suit." You had other tweets saying that this has energized you, it's empowered you, it's encouraged you. How has Johnny Depp's W encouraged you to go forward with these defamation lawsuits?
Well, they looked at the facts of the case, and we're just ready to start our cases. It's been since trial, we've been working hard on this, and it's going to cost a lot of money to pay for these. So you can support us any way you can. You can go to tmap.org. You can look at what's happening. We have some merchandise on the store. You can go check that out. So it's tmap.org.
Absolutely. I mean, this has affected your life personally. The defamation is not just, lies about you in the media. It has a real world impact everywhere you go, trying to get a job or trying to go to a new school or a new university. Or how has the defamation affected your life personally, from you going to, I don't know, Walmart or going out in public, or your mom going somewhere? Has there been any close calls, more death threats? How is the defamation and slander affecting your life personally, Kyle?
Well, the defamation and slander put thoughts in people's heads that are false, to where I receive nonstop harassment. My family receives harassment all the time. And my girlfriend even receives harassment now at work because of what people believe on the media. So we shouldn't have to deal with this. And it's really upsetting that we have to.
Yeah, it's wrong and it's evil, and you definitely have a case. I mean, if Johnny Depp, could beat Amber Turd, Kyle Rittenhouse has a huge shot against all these slanderers in the mainstream media and these corporations. But I want to shift gears with you, Kyle, because I mean the mass shooting that took place in Uvalde was a horrific situation. It should not have happened, but immediately the far left mobilizes. And they blame the gun. They blame the AR-15. They don't blame the individual. They don't blame the evil person that decided to do this. And almost immediately, your name got involved with this. I saw it trending on Twitter, like literally the night of these kids got shot. You're trending on Twitter. People, all these woke-tards on leftists on Twitter are comparing you to the mass shooter. Some people were saying, this is what happens when you let Kyle Rittenhouse win his case with an AR-15. Like just the most stupidest stuff, right? And you were tweeting saying, I am alive today because I was able to protect myself. Can you expound on that, Kyle? I mean, when you do compare your situation to what happened in Uvalde, they're complete different situations. You didn't show up to Kenosha to kill people. You were there to hold it down for the community, and you had to defend yourself. Can you explain what the difference is?
Well, with the Uvalde, somebody went in, murdered a bunch of children, and that's not okay. And with my situation, I was attacked, and I had to defend myself, and I had to use that rifle. I had to use it to defend myself, and now they're pushing gun control. And I think I know if I didn't have that rifle, Drew, we wouldn't be here tonight.
Yeah, you wouldn't. Not at all. I know that for a 100% fact. 100% fact. I could attest to that. Eyewitness. I did that under oath as well. But also, you started tweeting at President Biden, because immediately they start going after the guns. It's an immediate gun grab. Because if Kyle Rittenhouse didn't have the Second Amendment right to defend himself in the middle of a riot, Kyle Rittenhouse wouldn't be sitting here talking to me right now. That's just literally a fact. You tweeted this and you said, the right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, Joe. Based tweet right there, but even more based Kyle Rittenhouse than his tweets. Here's a video of Kyle at a gun range, just unloading, just causing the woke tards to literally lose their minds. Take a look at this video. It's pretty self-explanatory, you know, Kyle. I mean, we need the Second Amendment. What is your message, not just to President Biden, but even guys, I mean, I don't know if you saw the footage, Kyle, but, you know, Beto in Texas showed up to Uvalde, started blaming Governor Greg Abbott, saying the blood's on your hands less than 24 hours after the mass shooting. They immediately go for the gun grabs. They politicize dead kids. And I called him out outside of the NRA conference, literally to his face, literally just shouting at him like, how do you feel exploiting dead kids? It's disgusting, Kyle. When you see stuff like this, Going through what you went through, how does it make you feel when you see these politicians immediately going to the gun grab and taking away the right for Americans to defend themselves? How does that make you feel when you see that?
Well, it's really disturbing, and especially the fact that they're using children who lost their lives to this guy that shot them. It's really disturbing that they're politicizing that and using that for their narrative.
It is disgusting. And lastly, Kyle, I wanted to ask you about your school career. You tweeted this the other day, and you said, unfortunately, the end of my high school career was robbed from me. I didn't have the time other students get to properly prepare for the future. I look forward to attending Blinn College District this year, a feeder school for Texas A&M. I'm excited to join Texas A&M in 2023. And you also posted your Arizona State University student identification card saying, goodbye ASU. What is the situation with ASU? Did they just reject you? They didn't want you? And is Texas A&M really open to you coming on campus? Because I saw some left-leaning Twitter accounts coming out and saying, oh, Kyle Rittenhouse says he's going to Texas A&M, but Texas A&M came out and said he's not coming yet. Or they were just spitting more lies, saying that you're not accepted. What's the truth, Kyle? Let us know. What's going on with your school career?
Well, thank you for asking me that question, Drew, so I can clear this up. So I went to College Station. I went to Texas A&M. I toured the campus. I sat down with an academic advisor from Texas A&M where we came up with an education plan, which involves me going to Blinn College and for this year. And once I meet the academic requirements there, I get a direct transfer and automatic admission into Texas A&M, where I will be in 2023 to earn that Aggie ring. And what people don't remember is when every other 18, 19-year-old were applying to colleges, I was on trial fighting for my life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Kyle, do you feel discriminated against when it comes to you trying to get into a school or going anywhere or just living a normal life? I mean, obviously, the conservative right, or maybe even libertarians or centrists that are just patriot, pro-American, loving individuals, they love you, right? But do you feel discriminated against like these far left, these left-leaning anything, anywhere you go? Are you feeling that in your life right now as you get older?
Well, yeah, I do feel a little discriminated against. I feel I will never have a normal life, and I've accepted that, but I'm going to make the best out of my life. And I feel like everything I do is judged and scrutinized by these politicians, these left-leaning organizations, and it honestly needs to stop because it happens with so many Americans every single day.
Absolutely, man. Well, we love you here at TPUSA. I love you, Kyle. You have a place in my heart. You always will be. And your mom. Tell your mom I love her. Tell David I said what's up. And the whole crew that's with you, helping you out every single day. If you ever need anything, man, you have my number. Hit me up. We'll take care of you. Anytime you show up to a TPUSA conference, I mean, everyone loves you. So I hope that you are encouraged that there's more love for you than there is hate. So where can people follow you, Kyle, on your socials? And where can people support your legal team and your legal efforts?
My social is This Is Kyle R. And then to support our fight to hold these people accountable, you can go to tmap.org, and that's tmap.org.
Absolutely. Kyle, I love you, buddy. I'll hit you up soon. Stay safe out there, man.
Thank you, Joe.
All righty, there he goes. Well, just another reason for the Second Amendment. You guys see that Supreme Court justices are getting threatened. We need the ability to defend ourselves. We can't rely on police or the military. That's why the Second Amendment is there for you as an individual, just like Kyle Rittenhouse had to defend himself with a firearm because a convicted pedophile was trying to take him down, and two other individuals were trying to take him down. So imagine if he didn't have that, he wouldn't be here right now. Just another example as to why we literally do not take the Second Amendment for granted. But when we come back, we will be going over the new woke Star Wars train wreck of a show, the Obi Wan Kenobi series on Disney+. The great Jeremy Prime of Geeks and Gamers will be with me. We are going to rip into this horrible show. Spoiler alerts! So when we come back, we'll be doing that. Stay with us.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now, more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies who fight for our rights and our beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to our causes, and with your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
All right, for all my Star Wars fans out there, trust me, I feel your pain. I feel your pain. Okay, ever since the sequel trilogy, I mean, the train wreck of a sequel trilogy came out from The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi to The Rise of Skywalker, and anything past that, you might think The Mandalorian is cool and it's fine. I mean, there's an argument there, but everything coming out from Disney Star Wars on Disney Plus or the big movies in Hollywood has been an absolute, not just a train wreck because they suck, but because of this woke LGBTQ agenda that they're just pumping, this anti-racist. It's not anti-racist. It's engineered racism. They accuse everyone of being racist. They just pump this narrative in all of their content. And not just Star Wars, but people are sick of it. The new Obi Wan series that people were highly anticipating. I mean, I knew it was going to suck. I knew that this was coming, but it is bad. Here's an article from Forbes. The Obi Wan star Moses Ingram stands up to racist backlash. The Star Wars fan base is infamous for its toxic fringe, the loud minority of hypocritical fans that harass actors for daring to play their parts. Their criticism is overwhelmingly infused with sexist and racist commentary. They've chased actresses off the internet, mass bullied a literal child, and now are flooding actor Moses Ingram with racist messages after she appeared as the primary antagonist in the newly released Obi Wan Kenobi series. Okay, well, let's get into this. Joining me now is the great Jeremy Prime with Geeks and Gamers to talk about this train wreck known as the Obi Wan Kenobi show. Jeremy, you are a racist because you don't like this show. I'm a racist because I don't like this show. You're homophobic, you're transphobic because, you know, if you don't like anything that Disney is putting out, that's just what you are nowadays.
Don't forget sexist. If you're going to call me the names that the internet calls me, let's not forget sexist. Not as sexist as Ryan Kennel, but I'm working on it. But yes, it's the same nonsense that we've seen for years. But thank you for having me, Drew. It's an honor to be on the show. I'll try to follow Kyle Rittenhouse, putting the pressure on me there. But that was awesome to see him on. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on. And yes, this Obi Wan Kenobi series is a disaster. It's not surprising. I wasn't even going to watch this series, but you know, my audience requested that I would watch it so I could give them feedback on it. Mm-hmm. And that's my job, is to listen to our audience. It is objectively a horrific series in every possible way. And seeing how they tried to get out in front of this, because the racist accusations for the fans started before the series even released. Lucasfilm put fillers out there saying they were warning Moses Ingram that she might be facing racist backlash from the fan base. This is before it even released, because they knew the criticism was going to be hot and heavy because she's not doing a good job in the show, and the show is just terrible altogether.
It's literally, I mean, you look at Rotten Tomatoes, obviously the average tomato meter is at 88%, but the audience score is at 58%. 58. As of right now, 58%. I don't know if that's changed, gone up or down since this morning, but that's the latest right now. But I mean, the crazy part as well, I mean, I just want to talk about their racist accusations. I don't even know if those screenshots are real. I mean, is that just Disney like sending people in there just to continue with the narrative that's been engineered? I mean, you think about it, Jeremy, because she's come out and publicly said that there need to be more star black actors in these giant films, including Star Wars, right? Mm-hmm. So part of those screenshots were people saying, how do you feel being a diversity hire for Star Wars? And it's like, isn't that what you want? Don't you want like more black people in Star Wars movies? And Star Wars is literally doing diversity hires, but you call it out and call it for what it is. Like, you're a racist for telling us to our face what we're doing, Jeremy.
It's being called a racist or a sexist has no meaning whatsoever anymore. And there was a time when before I really was critical of Disney Star Wars, and when I was wanting to criticize it, I was just like, man, I don't want to be labeled a racist or a sexist, because just growing up, that was actually a bad thing to be labeled that. Now it just means this person disagrees with my opinion, so they're a racist or a sexist. So these words have no meaning. These once powerful words have no meaning. But ultimately, look, we have to preface all of this because we as people that don't line up with the narrative understand that literally every word that comes out of our mouth can be used against us and manipulated and twisted and turned. So to put the preface out there, none of the messages that were sent her way were okay. No one is co-signing those messages. With that said, I get worse messages every hour than those messages. And as
but Gina Carano, right? Gina Carano has to get reprogrammed, re-educated from Disney. They literally sent re-educators to her house. LGBTQ, these people
they wanted her to have a call with like 40 people. They wanted her to face 40-something people at one time, which is insane. But we're talking about a situation where Gina Carano got horrific things that were publicly said to her in the hundreds. That Data Racer has all of the screenshots of everything that was said about Gina Carano. You had the situation with Rosario Dawson, Rosario Dawson is a left-wing SJW, okay? But I like her as an actress, and she's doing a great job as Ahsoka. But she had a controversy with her family where there was a lawsuit with a trans person. So when she was cast as Ahsoka, the social justice weirdos on Twitter were just going after her, calling her anti-trans, calling her all of these names, these horrible things. Disney never stood up for her. Why? Because in the oppression Olympics, they couldn't stand up for the non-white woman because the trans narrative was in the way of it. It's amazing.
We just got to bow down to the fraction, this tiny percentage of companies, this tiny percentage of the population. We have to bow down because we don't want to hurt a gay person's feelings. Jeremy, I'm at a point right now where I just don't care anymore. Like, these people are going to call me whatever they're going to call me, and I don't care. They could call me all the names in the book, whatever. But I wanted to criticize the show. There's two things here, and we got about 2.5 minutes left. There's two things here that have come out that the show writer didn't even know what happened in The Revenge of the Sith, and the Grand Inquisitor actor in the show didn't even watch the animated interpretation of his character to prepare for the live action role. It's like the same thing they did in Halo. They don't even watch, they don't even look at the games, they don't look at the lore because they don't care. This isn't about making a great movie that's in line with the story, that's in line with the fandom. This is about pushing this agenda to just screw everyone that doesn't agree with them. It's about submission and getting you to bow down to their agenda. And it's like, dude, this isn't about movies anymore.
It's not. And I mean, look, I mean, the show was advertised as this thing with Obi Wan and Luke, and that really didn't make anybody happy either because there's no point to try to go there. But the whole show's about Obi Wan and Leia. And
cringe.
But Leia, but then you have the line in A New Hope that this all contradicts now when she talks to Obi Wan sends the message to Obi Wan, and you have Leia in the show, a 10-year-old child who's significantly smarter than anyone
like that
else.
opening scene where she's running away from the bad guy. She's like running away from Piccolo. That's how I say. She's like literally running away from Piccolo, and it's like dodging and these grown men. It's just like just to be honest, the writing sucks. The dialogue sucks. Moses Ingram is just a bad actress. In my opinion, I watched it. I forced myself to watch it to be able to talk about it. It's just not believable. She's not intimidating. She has an intimidating role, but she's not intimidating in any way, shape, or form.
Have you seen the most recent episode? The one that came out last night? Vader. She outsmarted Vader. He's spoilers. He's about to force choke her and kill her for making a mistake. But it turns out Reva, she had a plan the whole time. Even though she planned for an escape that she didn't know was going to happen. So she puts a homing device. Like, what are we doing?
It is literally a woke joke. It is literally a woke joke. I've been saying this. Moses Ingram, Reva, is the dark side Mary Sue. She's the dark side Rey. That's exactly what she is. You know what, Jeremy? We're out of time right now, but we're going to bring you on very soon to continue this conversation where we have more time to talk about and just rip into this because it's almost halfway done. People could follow Jeremy right now. Go to Twitter, Geeks and Gamers. Follow him on his YouTube channel, Geeks and Gamers. Thank you for joining me. Guys, my name is Drew Hernandez. This is the Front Lines. We are going to do some border coverage starting tomorrow at the Arizona southern border. I'll see you guys tomorrow. My name is Drew Hernandez. These are the Front Lines. I'll see you guys later.
You have to ask the question, how is the most heavily funded tribe have the poorest population?
Listen to me. My country is very because everything problem here. Don't have petroleum for bus and Cuban, for car, for drive, for nothing.
And it sucks. Socialism sucks. There's no other way you can describe it.
All right, guys, you have signed up, right? You've joined freedomsquare.com. If you haven't, why not? This should have happened a decade ago. How did somebody not think of this earlier? If you're a business owner, we have a business directory to promote your business to patriots across the nation. So if you want to buy American, if you want to sell American, we have a business directory. Whatever it is, go now.
Join us in the fight for freedom. Welcome to Freedom Square.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily, powered by Turning Point USA. Today is June 8th, 2022, Anno Domini. Today's top headlines. A Buffalo, New York pro-life center allegedly firebombed by pro-abortion terrorists and potentially having links to the Jane's Revenge group or movement. We'll break it down next. Matthew McConaughey, an anti-gun actor, calling for nationwide red flag laws in a very high-profile White House address. Third, the FBI has seized the electronic data of the Brookings Institute president in illegal Qatari lobbying investigation. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry, Brookings. And finally, the Pentagon has identified a U.S. service member as a potential suspect in an explosion that injured 4 U.S. troops in Syria, possible friendly fire attack. All this and more ahead, Human Events Daily.
Come to find out that the windows behind us were smashed in and fires were lit intentionally. You'll see a sign over here with graffiti saying Jane was here. That represents Jane's Revenge. It's an abortion terrorist group which have taken responsibility for other vandalisms and fire bombings across the country. They have said that they would strike again in different parts of the state on the lead up to the potential of Roe versus Wade being overturned, and they have done that here, apparently.
Hi, I'm calling because I read about the fire in your building, and I'm calling because I'm curious if it was arson or rather the good Lord showing you an example of hell and where you belong for being such a misogynistic bitch. Thanks for basically going out there daily and making sure that women can't have control over their own bodies. And I'm so thankful that the good Lord finally took action on people like you.
So what you just heard there was the voicemail left the last time another one of these pro-life centers was firebombed. That was in the state of Wisconsin. This just happened in Buffalo, New York. We've also seen recently an incident at a pro-life center in Washington, D.C. And what's very interesting is that graffiti left on the building in Buffalo referenced the group Jane's Revenge. Now, Jane's Revenge was this group that took credit for a fire set, according to Post Millennial, a fire set at the Madison, Wisconsin headquarters of Wisconsin Family Action. The graffiti in Buffalo said Jane was here. So what we're potentially looking at now is an either coordinated or decentralized network or movement of anarchists and violent radicals that are perpetuating these attacks in the name of abortion, right? And this was a group before, prior to Roe v. Wade coming out. This Jane's group was an older group in the 1960s. What their job was, and we've looked into this, by the way, myself, other people have looked into it. It doesn't seem like they were violent back in the 1960s, but what they were was some sort of almost like an underground railroad for abortions, for women to be able to procure these back alley abortions before Roe v. Wade being passed, or at least being ruled in 1972. And so what this group now is doing, they're calling themselves Jane's Revenge. They know that the Supreme Court imminently will be striking down Roe v. Wade. And when that takes place, that will kick the abortion decision back to the states, where it belongs, by the way. Something that they used to call it, what was that phrase? It was a phrase we learned, democracy. Democracy. We used to call it democracy, right? These things, you would put it up for a vote, and then people would elect representatives, and they would decide what the laws of a certain state would be. But somewhere along the line, it became, through the left, when they realized that because their ideas were so unpopular, that what they were going to do was not use this democratic system anymore, not use the Constitution, not use our system of representation. No, small r republic. What they would do was they would stack the courts with people that believed their line of thinking, and then they would read things into the Constitution that weren't actually there. Things like abortion, things like contraception, all of these different items that you might be for them or against them, right? They're not part of the Constitution because they aren't things that you have a quote unquote constitutional right to. By the way, you can amend the Constitution if you want. If you really want that much, set it up. Vote for it. Go for the amendment. We have a process for this. But now you've got this group, Jane's Revenge. And it does seem like now that this is a movement that is breaking out nationwide. It is taking up the reins from the Antifa movement. And what they're doing is they're conducting attacks on pro-life centers, places where people are fighting to be able to achieve pro-life in their states, because they understand that Roe v. Wade is DOA at the Supreme Court. That means it'll kick it back to the states. They're starting the fight early, and they're taking the fight directly to the pro-life movement. So what does that mean? That means for conservative leaders, for DAs, for prosecutors out there, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. These attacks are wrong. Political violence is always wrong. And people like Posobiec out in San Francisco, who just lost his job over not locking up violent felons, people like Posobiec, hopefully, are the first domino to fall.
One, let's ban the assault weapons for civilians. And to my friends out there that are responsible owners of these recreational or these assault weapons that they use for recreation, please, man, let's take one for the team here and set it down.
We need responsible gun ownership. Responsible gun ownership. We need background checks. We need to raise the minimum age to purchase an AR-15 rifle to 21. We need a waiting period for those rifles. We need red flag laws and consequences for those who abuse them.
So Matthew McConaughey, Hollywood actor Matthew McConaughey, who apparently is a native of Uvalde, Texas, coming to the White House yesterday, telling us that we need red flag laws and that it's just common sense, responsible gun regulations, right? And who wouldn't be for that, right? Who wouldn't be for common sense regulations, right? Of course, everyone's for that, right? Understand, these are scripted phrases. This is being done to push an agenda to sell you. By the way, this is what President Obama used to do all day long. Remember, President Obama came out just a couple of weeks ago and said, hey, you have to stop saying defund the police. What he'll turn around and say is we need to reinvest in communities. And he was talking to the radical left of his party and saying that the way you need to get your radical causes across is not to address them directly, but essentially to kind of cover them up, use sleight of hand like a magician up on stage and say, no, we're not defunding the police, we're reinvesting in communities. See, it's completely different. And so with McConaughey here, you hear him at the White House saying, look, it's just common sense. It's common sense, guys. Come on, everyone believes in this, right? Horrible attack, horrible thing that happened, obviously. But you go back just a few years, like we did here at Human Events, and what did we find? We found the exact same guy, Matthew McConaughey, saying, all of you assault weapon owners just need to take one for the team. Just get rid of them. Don't need them anymore. Put them down. That's what he said. A ban on civilian ownership of assault weapons. And keep in mind, by the way, that Matthew McConaughey whenever he goes out in public, is defended by armed guards. President Biden, whenever he goes out in public, defended by armed guards. Probably armed guards, Secret Service, by the way, if he's out in public, you better believe that they've got assault weapons all over them. President Biden has been defended by assault weapons for his entire adult life. All right, just keep that in mind. What we're talking about is that the individual person, the individual family, the individual gun owner would have the ability to be able to defend themselves the same way that the rich elites are able, who can afford this, that they could have that right. Sure, that's great. I'm totally for that, by the way. I'm perfectly fine with Matthew McConaughey being able to defend himself and President Biden being able to defend himself and the Obamas, et cetera, right? Of course. But the point is that this type of stuff can't only be for the elites. It should be for everyone else, because what you have is a problem of human nature. You have a problem of human nature. Human nature is immutable, and it cannot be changed. We can try, we can strive, right, to become more perfect, the way our Constitution says. We can become closer to God, the way the Bible says, the way that Aquinas writes, that we can become more self-actualized as we journey closer to God. But we can never become perfect. It's not how it works. It just ain't how it works. And so the only people that would be following these laws are, by definition, the law-abiding citizens. A criminal isn't going to sit there. Go look at the mass shooting that just happened on South Street in Philadelphia last week, right where I used to go hang out with my buddies when I was in high school. You're not going to see the people there saying, oh, guys, whoa, hold on a second. We can't do this. Well, there's gun laws against it. Come on, this is a gun-free zone. We can't be coming down here on South Street shooting into a crowd. They don't care what the law says. They've already got the guns. And so, unfortunately, we don't live in utopia. We don't live in Fantasyland. We live in the real world. And in the real world, there's two options here. Number one, lock up the crazy people and lock up the criminals. And when I say lock up the crazy people, what I mean is actually institutionalized, get them the help they need, obviously. If you're going to put a red flag law on somebody, well, guess what? We've already got mental health laws on the books. Use them. Simply use them. Get person institutionalized, like this kid in Uvalde who should have been done. The community failed there. It wasn't the law-abiding citizens who failed. It was the people who failed to actually step up and get this kid the help he needed. That's number one. But number two, don't take guns away from the people who didn't commit the crime.
We have, I think, been very comfortable in the aftermath of that administration by being able to look ourselves in the mirror and say we never compromised our values. We never compromised our principles. Doing good was always foremost in our minds. And when you pursue analysis and research that is fact-based and data-driven, then your conclusions bring you about as close to truth as you can possibly be.
Well, so that's General Allen of the Brookings Institute, the president, former four-star general in the United States Marine Corps. Interestingly enough, the FBI has just seized the electronic data of General Allen, who now works as the president of the Brookings Institute. The Brookings Institute, well, I thought that they were just some nice, independent, they're the good guys, right? You know, they're the people that are just trying to help usher all of society into the great utopian future where we're all live together. But, well, it turns out, funny enough, that the FBI and the DOJ uploaded a PDF incorrectly yesterday to some court docket somewhere. We found it. Post Millennial found it. They got the story up last night before they could take this thing down. He's under investigation for illegal foreign lobbying for the government of Qatar. Yes, that's right, Qatar. Let's talk about, you want to talk about Happy Pride Month. You want to talk about equality for everybody, right? But you're taking money and apparently direction from the Qataris. So let's dig into this. New federal court filings obtained Tuesday outlined a potential criminal case against former Marine General John Allen, who led U.S. and NATO forces in Afghanistan before being tapped in 2017 to lead the influential Brookings Institution. And this is, of course, up at postmillennial.com. The investigation is wide-ranging and has already resulted in sentences against former ambassador to the UAE, Richard Olson, as well as a well-known donor, Imad Zubairi, who is serving 12 years on corruption charges. The FBI alleges that General Allen provided a false version of events about his work for Qatar. Allen is also accused of failing to provide communications in response to a grand jury subpoena. The Brookings Institute did not respond to the post-millennial for a comment. Recently, the Institute claimed to have stopped receiving Qatari funds. It's also alleged that Allen lobbied President Trump's former National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster, to take a friendlier stance on Qatar. In a June 9th email to McMaster, Allen said that the Qataris were just asking for some help and wanted the White House or Trump's State Department to issue a statement with specific language calling on all sides of the Gulf diplomatic crisis to act, quote unquote, with restraint. So what was going on back in 2017, 2018, people understand this, there was a huge rift in the Gulf between the Qataris and Saudi Arabia. So the Saudis and the Qataris were really going at it, right? They were fighting back and forth, not only for influence within that region, but influence within the United States and influence with the administration. Saudi Arabia eventually won out because Qatar had been funding at the time tons of radicals. They're the owners, by the way, of Al Jazeera, and apparently, not only funding the Brookings Institute, but directing the Brookings Institute to lobby on their behalf with the administration of the United States. See, that's when you cross the line. It's one thing for you to say, okay, I'm going to write this article. Okay, I'm going to put this out. I'm going to make this statement, right? And I got, make my opinion known. But if you cross the line, and think about it, right? Why did they hire a former Marine general? Because they want his Rolodex, because they want his contacts with the people who are still in government. It's the same way the defense industry works, by the way, right? They want his connections, right? He's not up there because, he's some paragon of virtue and understanding how No, they want him because they know that he has the ability to pick up the phone and be able to directly dial in to the White House, to the Pentagon, to DOD, et cetera, et cetera. The problem is, if you're doing that on the dime of a foreign government, and if you're doing that at the direction of a foreign government, then guess what, boys and girls? You just became a foreign influence agent. And if you are a foreign influence agent, you need to be registered under something that's called the FARA Act, right? By the way, this is far less than anything that General Flynn ever did, right? He was on the phone. He wrote like an op-ed or something, or he didn't even write it himself. Somebody drafted it, and one of his partners posted it. This is nothing compared to what Flynn did, and yet they went after him for it. So the fact they're going after Brookings, one of the most powerful think tanks in all of Washington, with Qatari money that has flooded this town for years, it's remarkable. Hopefully, next, they'll do the CCP.
One thing about Assad, not a good guy. I understand that. But we're backing and spending billions and billions of dollars on backing rebels that we have no idea who they are. And a lot of people think they're ISIS. I happen to think they're ISIS, but who knows? But we're spending billions of dollars to get Assad out with people that we have no idea who they are. I don't think that's smart. We have to rebuild our country. Our country's falling to pieces. We have $19 trillion in debt. We have infrastructure that's a disaster. Our roadways, our airports, our schools, everything. We have to start thinking about ourselves. We're pouring trillions of dollars into the Middle East, and we have nothing for it. We have nothing.
Well, so there's President Trump explaining why he didn't think it was a good idea for the United States to be involved in the Middle East the way that we were. Libya, Iran, Iraq, Syria. Why are we going over there, knocking over governments, and then not knowing what's going to take their place? You're creating power vacuums where terrorists get in and crazy things happen. Well, did you know, by the way, that throughout all of this, the United States still, to this day, has military bases and troops on their boots on the ground in Syria? And what just happened? Back in April 7th of this year, just a couple of weeks ago, there was an attack on Green Village, and Green Village is a U.S. base in Deir al-Zor in eastern Syria. That's right on the border with Iraq. Now, initially, officials claimed that the injuries were caused by an artillery strike, right? Some shelling, a mortar fire, possibly a rocket. But a week later, U.S. officials at the Pentagon seem as though a deliberate placement of an explosive charge by an unidentified individual at an ammunition holding facility or shower facility took place. They've identified a suspect in the attack, and here's what's crazy. The suspect, as far as we know, and I'm getting this off of Daily Mail, is a U.S. service member. So that means not one of these green on blue type attacks where we saw in Afghanistan where you would have people that would be members of the Taliban or sympathetic to the Taliban or ISIS or getting jobs on U.S. bases coming on as contractors and conducting an attack. No. This looks as though it may have been an actual blue on blue attack that took place on U.S. forces in Syria. So let's go through the details because I want to be very clear about this. Because if we're alleging something of this magnitude, you got to be right. Patrick Barnes, a spokesman for the Army Criminal Investigative Division, said in a statement that a potential suspect is back in the United States. He said that investigations by Army CID and Army Air Force Office of Special Investigations are ongoing. Right, so you've got Air and Army on the same base there. So let's go back a second. Do you remember right after January 6th, we're having these hearings? I'm sure everybody's going to be watching the hearings, right? All this week on January 6th. That the Pentagon put out this new program, this new office. Secretary Austin came out and said, we're gonna go after extremists in the ranks. We're gonna go after. And what did they define extremists as, right? They defined it as, someone who might be liking too many MAGA pages on Facebook, someone who might be following the NRA or Turning Point USA, or somebody who listens to Human Events, right? Those are the extremists they were going after. Those were the white nationalists that they were going after. Well, now it seems that you did have an actual extremist who conducted an actual attack on a base on U.S. service members in Syria. Guess he slipped through your cracks a little bit. Maybe somewhere along the line, you guys got so caught up in your moral panic over fake extremism that you made up that you forgot that the real world exists, that real extremists do exist, real criminals do exist, and the people like this were given a free hand because you were looking in the other direction. Well, that's all the time we have. Human Events Daily today, powered by Turning Point USA. Remember, as always, our promise, our oath, our solemn vow to you: be good, be brief, be gone. Your homework for us: share this out with just one of your normie friends, and then leave us your 5-star review. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your politics, wherever you get your podcasts, leave us up there. Human Events Daily racing up the charts. I really have to say thank you to everybody who's been sharing this out with your normie friends. And I always say, just find one story, just one piece of it. They say, hey, did you hear about that? That thing that was going on, that crazy attack. Well, Posobiec covered it on Human Events. You should check that out, right? Just slip it in, and then they get hooked. And they just press that little plus button and they get hooked. What did we talk about today? The Buffalo Pro-Life Center, allegedly firebombed by pro-abortion terrorists. It may have been this Jane's Revenge movement again. Next, Matthew McConaughey calling for nationwide red flag laws in his White House address. The White House seizing the data of the Brookings Institute president. Naughty, naughty Brookings Institute. Imagine if that was Heritage, by the way, taking money from Russia, right? Well, it turns out that it was illegal Qatari lobbying. And then finally, the Pentagon identifying a U.S. service member that is a suspect in an explosion, a potential blue-on-blue attack at a base in Syria. Why are we even in Syria? But before we go, it's time for today's history break. Today, June 8th, 1949. Can you believe it? British author George Orwell published his dystopian classic 1984. And while I say this is a moment of history, he put out the book then. What's amazing is that you don't even need to read the book anymore. You can just live in the real world on a regular basis, and you know exactly what it is he was writing about, right? The memory holes, the newspeak, the thought crime, right? Not allowed to think that, not allowed to talk about those things, and then always having the one thing I do say that Orwell didn't predict correctly was that it wouldn't be Big Brother would be looking over your shoulder, is that we would demand Big Brother be following us every day on a little black square in our pockets as we go around. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission to lay ashore.